And welcome everybody to another edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. Well, of course, here's truly Charles Prodigy Richey, as we are here in about the second or third week of training camp here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week number 3, as a matter of fact, as we are getting a little bit more closer to kickoff of the NFL season, as we will be a little bit about 3 weeks away, basically, as we get ready to count down a little bit more further here, as we take a look at a lot of exciting stuff going on over here, as we take a look at it for this being. So 3 more weeks, believe it or not, and after all the craziness that's been going on with the pandemic and everything going on in our society, we shall only find out how things will look out for not only an exciting Pittsburgh Steelers 2020 campaign, but a successful NFL season. They continue to find a way march along throughout this. Again, for those of you who want to join in here on the Mass Steel Podcast, you want to catch the live stream, feel free to go right ahead and spread the word. Make sure to check it out streaming live on both Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, you can catch me streaming live right now, Mass Steel Podcast. Feel free to like it and be able to check out the podcast and some feeds every now and then, which will also be shared to my Instagram. And then on Instagram, you can check it out streaming at Mass Steel Nation. And if you guys want to follow the Mass Steel Podcast on Twitter, it is at Mass Steel CJR. You can follow me primarily on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey. And go ahead, let's get ready to some reports here as laid out by Steelers team reporter Missy Matthews. You can also catch her and Mike Pursuta on Steelers Live throughout the week of training camp, doing an amazing job, that tandem right there as of late. And I got to admit, I don't know about anyone else in Steeler Nation, but I've been enjoying the combination of Missy Matthews and Mike Pursuta. Had a nice chemistry there. Usually be used to seeing at least Bob Labriola in around that time, but I got to admit, just doing their stuff on the field, it's nice to see in there too. You still have Tunch Jokin, but also Bob Pompiani too, of KDKA, CBS Pittsburgh, who's also the host of the Bob Pompiani Show. You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at KDPomp. Basically, one of the best to ever do in the business right there, who's been one of the faces of training camp. I was actually able to get into Lauren, do a little interview with Art Rooney II. And, of course, about the salary cap, one of the issues that was broached up. And, of course, just sharing his sentiments, too, as far as, trying to get Cam Hayward to a long-term contract extension. And I know there's been some frustration that was expressed last week. But, as you know, I think Art Rooney has been echoing the same sentiments that I have been saying all along, too. And then the league has been looking at for next year. We have no idea how much this cap is going to drop for next year. And if the Steelers are going to find themselves in a position where they may have to release a lot of players or ask a lot of players to take a lot less money. Basically, he was just saying we'll have to worry about next year's cap when next year gets here. But for right now, they just seem to be pretty well focused as far as this season. Steelers, once again, by the way, are only one of 3 teams to not have any of their players opting out for the season. Those 2 other teams, just to recap, who are in the same boat with the Steelers, are the LA Chargers and the Atlanta Falcons. And I really feel like that's got to be a big advantage. And I think one major news announcement that was made, too, and I really found it kind of interesting, too, and I think this was by Adam Schefter. I'm going to pull it up here in just a second. But it was involving a team winning the division, basically, when in there, as we take a look at things and see what happened there. But bottom line, too, as we look at it, for right now, as we take a look at things here, we do got some news in the division. Let's go to the Browns real quick. We'll get to the Ravens in just a second. But according to Adam Schefter, the Browns have signed former Seahawks and Raiders linebacker Malcolm Smith, the Super Bowl MVP, a Super Bowl 48. And he was definitely one of the guys who stood out on that Legion of Boom defense. As we take a look at Malcolm Smith's production ever since being with the Seahawks and everything, I mean, he's going into his 10th year, who's been a one-time Super Bowl champion. He's never been to a Pro Bowl. He's never been an All-Pro. But I do like to wonder, I mean, how much a contributor he's going to be to the Browns right there. I mean, a guy who really, I mean, the last few years hasn't started a lot of games in his football career, and basically since 2016. I mean, that was like one of his career numbers. I mean, in 2015, you could say basically, 2015 he had 122 total tackles, 99 solo tackles, and 23 assists, all of those which have been career highs. I mean, he's also went on to go play for the San Francisco 49ers, then recently the Dallas Cowboys and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I really wonder, I mean, how much that's going to be making sense of that. But like I said, as we get ready to go back to the Ravens right now, as we look at it, basically, and as we take a look at for everything that has been going around right now, the Baltimore Ravens, as a matter of fact, had released Earl Thomas for conduct that has adversely affected the team. The move was described that way so Baltimore could recoup Thomas's guaranteed $10 million base salary after he got into a practice altercation with teammate Chuck Clark. It was the second exchange he had with Chuck, basically, who confronted nose tackle. Thomas confronted nose tackle Brandon Williams 11 months ago. Thomas also missed or was late to several meetings throughout his 17 months in Baltimore, source told ESPN Jameson Hensley. So, I mean, that's a big shocker right there because Earl Thomas, who I think was a legitimate key on that Ravens defense coming over from Seattle. I mean, no chance he was going to come over to the Steelers. But still, I mean, this guy right here who's had a Pro Bowl year and is also a three-time All-Pro guy. And also, too, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, for all his career, when we look at, he's been named to the 2010 All-Decade team. And for him to be no longer on that squad, I think that's a little bit of a shocker right there. And I think, no offense, I mean, for Steeler fans who are looking at this, I mean, that's going to be music to your ears right there. I mean, when we look at it, no offense. I mean, I think that was definitely a key guy right there who definitely helped give teams some fits. Earl Thomas, I mean, in his season with the Ravens, I mean, when you look at it too, he had 3 picks, he had 22 total tackles, 16 solo, 6 assisted. But still, I mean, this is a guy I'm not sure I'm very pleased knowing that you had the release. Excuse me, I was reading the wrong year. It was actually 49 total tackles, 32 solo tackles, 17 assisted. He had 2 picks for the year, returned for 38 yards. I mean, this guy right here, who I feel like is a real good, safety in this league. I mean, he's been primarily a free safety throughout his whole career with the Seahawks, but then converting over to strong safety last season. And I am really shocked right there. I mean, to see that, going into this. And I just wonder how much does that bode well for like a team like the Steelers when we look at everything and how we try and figure that out and just see what's been happening here. Because I really do believe right now as we look at it, for this time, it's definitely going to be an interesting time here for right now going into this year, knowing that you're only one of 3 teams in that division. In the league who has not chosen to opt out. I just really think it's just a little mind-boggling right there. And you gotta believe right now. I mean, if you're Steelers, I mean, you have somewhat of an advantage right here as we look at it. And like I said, I think one of the best stats is we always hear in the sports world. I mean, the best of ability is availability as far as like a stat wave here. Well, hey, say hi to some friends real quick who are joining in on here. I got Ryan Riffer, he underscore LoChef72, go underscore 3-timer, and then T-Fry33, who's also joining in. Hey, everybody, hope everyone has been doing well this past weekend, and hope everyone has been managing to stay safe throughout all this, including the pandemic that we continue to go along for right now and everything. And real quickly, I just want to just pass a note on real quickly, pass some prayers, love and thoughts real quick to a couple of shootings that took place. That one went viral last night. A man being shot in Kenosha, another black man being shot by police, which is real sad to hear right there. And then you also just had on here, another one happening, I think, Louisiana, a guy holding a knife, but the one in Kenosha, Wisconsin, I mean, a guy was trying to help sell domestic dispute was the initial report on there. And not listening to like an officer right there ended up, having a little bit of an overreaction right there. Tried racing around the car and it got shot multiple times in the back from what I understood. I think it was 7 bullets right there. So I just want to send my condolences to his family, and hopefully we don't have to go through what we went through in May with George Floyd murder. So again, I just hope everybody as an individual, we continue to treat as people. And like I said, it's not always the best things to warm up to in life, but at the same time, too, I will just say this. It is not the wisest thing when we got, try and be running off. I think we need to be the better person. We need to listen, but at the same time, too, police officers, they definitely do need reform. But like I said, I'm going to save that topic for another day. I'm not going into politics for this discussion as we look at it. All I do know is that when we look at it, it's definitely some sad times once again. I hope this country and overall as people, we don't have to worry about, people being mistreated and other people's lives being affected, especially families right now. And it's just real sad to see, but these are real times at the end of the day where when we hear stuff happening for this moment. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look. Like I said, when we look at it, this is really some interesting stuff going on here. Basically, for this year, as we look at it, and we'll get back to it in just a second here. Oh, and here we go. Here's what's been happening. So far with the Baltimore Ravens, on top of releasing Earl Thomas, offensive tackle, Andre Smith, and DeAnthony Thomas, wide receiver. Those guys have opted out of the 2020 season. I'm actually looking on the website right now that was written by Todd Hazlop. This was from August 7th, basically. I think this was around the deadline. And as far as the Browns, you got at least about 5 players on there. You got Malcolm Pridgeon, guard, Kobe Gossett, guard, Andrew Billings, defensive tackle, Drew Forbes, guard, and Drake Dorbeck, offensive tackle. And then for the Bengals, you got 2 guys, Isaiah Prince, offensive tackle, and Josh T, defensive tackle. And like I said, I think for the Steelers, it's just music to our ears right now. If you're going to try and do a season, you don't have to worry about many players opting out. Also, there was some news on Saturday, too. The Steelers have signed tight end Mark Wade and waived injured right end Dax Raymond as we look at it right there. So I think that was another interesting move right there as we look at it and try and find out what's been happening with this team as they try and get ready for a better 2020 campaign. And I think this is a good thing that I like hearing about Mike Tomlin, just everybody being in lockstep. I mean, basically how he's looking at things as we look at it. I mean, with Missy Matthews, with everybody here, as we try and figure this out here. I mean, Mike Tomlin, who's definitely been putting a lot of emphasis on make sure that they're trying to do things together and accountable in a fashion for this season. As we look at more right now, I mean, it's just really interesting stuff here at the end of the day. And he was saying on the 21st, I mean what I say when it takes everyone within our organization to have a successful day and therefore a successful season. And I think that is very key right there because he one of the things I like that he's still paying attention to is like the combination of Bud Dupree and TJ Watt here, which still continues to like stick out in his eyes for right now. I mean, when we look at it, he says that they challenge one another daily. They work during special teams on their own as their intention to be special. We need them to. And of course, I mean, that was one of the top dynamic tandems late in the season, I mean, for the Steelers team. And of course, I mean, the question is, I mean, for a guy like Bud Dupree right now, who didn't get his contract extension, instead he did pick up the tag, signed his fifth-year option, basically, after being tagged. I mean, this guy right here, I mean, you got to, like, start to think right now, I mean, what's going to happen beyond and how much more he's got to do to be sticking around. A guy who's still yet not made a Pro Bowl, I mean, still, I mean, having the luxury to at least be around, I mean, at least guaranteed for this season. Beyond, it'll be another question. How the front office wants to go about handling everything. And I think you got to, like, make some hard decisions next year. I mean, whether it's like trying to keep around a guy like Cam Hayward. I think one interesting stat, too, I mean, that especially Bob Pompiani points out when you look at a guy like Cam Hayward is that he is really peaking at the end of his 20s and early 30s, what not many guys are really able to pull off to do. You mean you had 3 consecutive Pro Bowl appearances at age 28 through 30. I mean, you made 2 All-Pros within that time, his first one being in 2017. Just putting up career numbers right there. And a guy who's just been a leader on and off the field. I understand the frustration, but again, I mean, how are they going to handle business things? I mean, you still got to put in the question. I mean, if for certain, is Kevin Colbert going to still be around? I mean, beyond next season, does he look into considering hanging it up if the Steelers are able to pull off and win a Super Bowl? Or, I mean, what do you think? I just feel right now that you need to just realize what you got in front of you right now. You got to look at this group and just maximize your efforts for this season, doing everything they can as the goal has never changed with Mike Tomlin, trying to compete for a Super Bowl. And I really do believe they're trying to make all the strides they can and doing everything they can to be the best and better, I mean, from the year before. But Mike Tomlin doesn't always like to drag on about like the previous year. I mean, he always is a guy who likes to move forward, as everyone is aware, I mean, for this topic. And we shall see how this continues to unfold. Also, too, Ben Roethlisberger and Juju Smith-Schuster, which, by the way, who did not dress. And you also had guys like Chris Wormley, Terrell Edmonds, Chooks Okorafor, Kevin Dotson, Yati Johnson, and Wendell Smallwood. And this was the first time that Ben Roethlisberger has been wearing a T-shirt and shorts today, and not and not really participating in practice. I mean, Mike Tomlin wants to especially save guys for like Ben and Juju for the long haul. I think, which is very strategic and is very smart right there. I mean, you got to realize too. I mean, like especially Ben Roethlisberger, that is very understandable. A guy who's been around, and I just feel like this is the guy you're going to give benefit of the doubt to right now, as far as like keeping himself in the best position. But I mean, at the same time too, I just feel like the interesting chemistry is going to be now with a guy like Eric Ebron, Chase Claypool, how they're going to be in that rotating mix, and of course Deontay Johnson, which he did not really get to experience then all last year, except for a game and a half. I mean, how's that going to translate into this year? I still think the chemistry has yet to develop, and I think it's going to be really exciting once he is out there on the field. And even too, I mean, how he's going to help with that offensive line. You got to believe the offensive line too. I mean, they're going to be playing more with a chip on their shoulder points this year after the way after what they had to show lack thereof from the previous season. Everyone is very aware of the fact that you don't want to miss the playoffs for 3 straight years. And if that does happen, that'll be the first time since 1998 through 2000 under Bill Cowher where the Steelers had a 3-season playoff drought. So, I mean, that's one thing right there. And we'll see how that works. But, I mean, the good news is you do got an extra, 2 more playoff spots, 1 playoff spot in each league. So you're going to be having 7 teams in each conference, which should be well the manageable. I don't see how they should miss it, to be honest with you. I mean, who knows? Even 8-8 may be enough to get them into the playoffs if they have to go back into that. Obviously, they don't want to get back. They don't want to go into that record. But still, anytime you can be in the dance, I just feel like right now, the thing is with that, let's just say it did happen. I don't think you want to put too much pressure on yourself as a team to go through a crazy scenario or being asked to win a Super Bowl under such tenuous circumstances. I think you want to have the most advantage of all possible when you go into this season, and how you're going to be able to find a way to click and to gel is just more important than anything. Make the route as smooth. I don't want to see it be like where it's like 2017 where you have a 13-3 record. You do get the first round bye. You had your tune-up game on Christmas against the Houston Texans. And I think that was a game right there where they not only pull away – I think they just pulled away the number 2 seed that game where they had locked up and they had their first round bye. But at the same time, it's a team that took their foot off the gas. And to be honest, they didn't play all their stars, in that last game against the Browns. You still got a wake-up call from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who beat them for the 2nd straight time in that year, yet alone the regular season. It's like I do want to see the team get a first-round bye, but at the same time, too, I don't want to see a team be all totally lax. Let's just say if you do wrap it up, let's just say if they do get back to like a 12-4, yet alone 13-3 overwhelmingly. I still want to see a team get in the rhythm going to the playoffs. I don't want to feel like I have to worry about a team that's going to be falling asleep at the wheel. I don't think you could afford that because you're not going to get many more assured opportunities with Ben Roethlisberger under that team's watch. I think you have to go all in, and you have to have everybody continue to step up around things. So, again, we are on the Menace Duo podcast. We're covering the 3rd straight week of training camp. If you guys want to catch the live show that is streaming live right now, check me out on my Facebook page, Menace Duo Podcast, as well as on Instagram Live at Menace Duo Nation. We're streaming live off of right now as we look into some more topics going in here for the 2020 campaign. As we also look at it. Also, too, Ebron on his relationship with Ben. Speaking of Ebron earlier, with Ben, he was saying that still trying to completely understand him. I believe I'm picking it up really well. And I think that's good. I mean, I think that's fair for right now. I mean, especially being a newcomer. I mean, coming over from the coast, but I definitely believe he's going to be a nice red zone target for Steelers that could really be highly beneficiary for this season. As he's, and I just think to have a two tight end combination, one we haven't legitimately seen in a while, and I think that's more so when you had Jesse James and Vance McDonald. But I think this could be a little bit more one up better here as we look at it. And I mean, like this guy, I mean, his clutch percentage, I mean, it's been pretty decent in his career. And we'll see how that continues to work out. But I mean, it's like the fifth best as we look at everything going on. And we'll see how this continues to work itself in. I mean, this is a guy right now who's going into his seventh season as a football player, starting off with the Lions and then the last two seasons with the Colts. And we'll see what else he does here. And we'll find out. Also, too, on Javon Hargrave, basically saying, I don't think there's any more pressure. Whatever your number is called, you have to be ready. Excuse me, this is Tyson Alualu. He says, I don't think there's any more pressure. Whatever your number is called, you have to be ready. And Alualu, I stepped in for Stephon Tuitt last year. Then we also got Chuks Okorafor, who said that he had worked on his hands a lot this offseason. I have a tendency to have my hands out, and I need to have them tighter. And don't forget, I think this is going to be a real interesting battle position because don't forget, you also got Zach Banner right now, who is on this team right now and is really trying to make establish some footing for himself. But don't forget, I mean, you got Chuks Okorafor, who's going into his third season, basically, for this year. And I think the whole idea is trying to get Chuks Okorafor moved into that right tackle position. I mean, basically, as you try and have Matt Filer, who's going to be filling in. I mean, just had a little disruption here on the live stream, it looks like, for right now. So I apologize to everyone, just experiencing a little bit of a technical difficulty right there. Seems like there was something like a little bit of like a short outage right now, but we'll get that fixed. So continue to bear with me. I think I may have to restart the live stream. Instagram, we're still going live and strong, so just bear with me just a few moments here as we continue to deliver here the Mass Steel podcast. And yes, the live stream has stopped. We're going to restart, so just bear with me, please, for right now. All right, and we are back. We're back and live on the live stream right now. We have been reestablished with Facebook Live here. So I do apologize for the low drop in coverage right there. Thank you for those of you who continue sticking to tuning in right now. And as I mentioned, yeah, Chuks Okorafor, we're talking about the offensive line position right now. Chuks Okorafor, who's going into his third season. Remember, you got Ramon Foster, who has retired. So the idea is to have Matt Filer move into that left guard position, I believe it is. And then the thing is, too, for the right tackle, they would have to, ask Chuks Okorafor to move from left to right tackle. And you got Zach Banner, who's still the number 2 guy on that depth chart as far as right tackle. I mean, this is a guy who still feel like right now, I mean, he could still make some splashes with this team going into this year. And, I mean, he believes, he could still be as much as proven. He's played just as long as Chuks did and has been around a little bit more. I think the only difference is I think you had a guy who right now, and to score for has had a little bit better circumstance, in my opinion. And I think the Steelers right now, they gotta like be a little bit more careful with a guy like that. I mean, you want to start around this time in your third season and get like a little bit more closer look on the guy. I mean, who can start making on decisions for next season. I just feel like that is very important, especially if Ben Roethlisberger is going to play out his final 2 years of his contract. I mean, if he plays beyond this season, I mean, he wants to continue to keep the focus as far as winning multiple Super Bowls. I mean, which is still yet to be seen. But I mean, at least just trying to win this one will be a great start. And I still have a hard time believing that he wants to have as many as Bradshaw. I don't see that happening. I definitely do at least see Ben Roethlisberger finishing out with one more. I'm not sure about two more. It's just the only thing is with Ben Roethlisberger at the end of the day, when we look at this guy, we look at his overall career. The guy, honestly, he's just not been mature enough to like handle like consistent long-term success or like longevity. I think he's a great quarterback, definitely a Hall of Fame quarterback when his football career is said and done. The only problem is we do happen to see at times leading a team where you'll have a few playoff appearances, you'll miss a couple of times. I mean, he's kind of caught lightning in the bottle. I mean, that last Super Bowl they won, he was pretty much captain of that ship. I mean, leading as far as a comeback in that victory. So let's find out. Let's also keep moving along. According to the Steelers report, Missy Maffley, she also says that David DeCastro, James Conner, and Stephon Tuitt were back at practice in pads today. So that's some other news right there. And then we also got Coach Tomlin and Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's got on a moving train a year ago. He and I specifically have been talking about tackle selection and the tackles he selects based on circumstance. And right now they're proving that they belong. They have an opportunity to ascend or take advantage of it. Coach Tomlin rookies Chase Claypool and Alex Highsmith. Those are some of the highlights from Missy Matthews from Coach Mike Tomlin. Now let's go ahead and get ready to end the show. We're going in the fair or foul topic. This is the only topic I got for today. Minkah Fitzpatrick will be moved around the defense. Fair or foul? I'll say foul for right now. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think for right now, I mean, the guy who was, when being broached about the topic, he was saying, he was being quoted as such, I was happy with All-Pro and Pro Bowl. Yes, sir, he said. Therefore, I don't see myself moving around a whole lot. I think last year we were successful with what we did. I don't see any need for change. We might switch it up a little bit, whatever, but I don't see my role changing too much. Well, I think that's very fair to say for right now. I mean, right now, I mean, he did play a little bit of strong safety when he was with the Miami Dolphins. I mean, Minkah did. I mean, is going into his third season. I mean, already like catching dynamic success and really taking off a hot, sizzling start. Had more interceptions in his career with the Steelers than he ever did with the Dolphins. I mean, he started off as a strong safety in 2018. He started 11 out of 16 games, and then last year is where he had 14 games. He started out of 14. I think those are the biggest things to pay attention to right there with this guy. And I really do believe that for right now, I mean, that has to be weighing on him. But at the same time, I mean, if they did have to move him around, I would not be surprised that it does come to light. I mean, you just never say never, I guess. But we shall see how things continue to move around right now as far as with the defense. But if anything, I keep that guy right there. I mean, I also like to just see what happens with Terrell Edmunds right now, who will be going into his third year with this team. Seemed to have a little bit of a drop-off in 2019. Basically, I mean, have a lesser pick, but I mean, his tackles were going up great. And he had lesser quarterback hits, but still, this is another guy at strong safety you want to see, like, have a little bit more better success, something to show for it at the end of the day. And I think Terrell Edmunds is a guy who's still not like the most like interesting guy like people have taken up just yet, but we shall see how this continues to be here for right now. And I'm not so sure what he's going to do as far as impact-wise, but I definitely expect a real good group this year. So anyway, that's going to do it for this edition here of the Mass Duel podcast. Be sure to tune in every Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can follow me, again, on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey. I could also be checked out on the Mass Duel podcast on Twitter at Mass Duel CGR and on Instagram at Mass Duel Nation. For the Mass Duel podcast, as always, leave everyone. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.